you ever wondered why everyone suddenly disappears from your life? Why the calls stop, the messages slow down, the invitations vanish? It feels like the world is pushing you away. But what if it's not the world? What if it's Allah calling you back to Him, not to punish you, but to purify you, not to isolate you, but to realign your heart with its true purpose? Because sometimes the silence around you is Allah's voice guiding you. Not every disconnection is a loss. Sometimes it's a divine redirection. 1. Isolation is not rejection, it's a divine invitation. There are moments in life when we feel completely alone. People stop calling, friends grow distant, even family members, the ones who were always around, seem unavailable. And we start to ask ourselves, what did I do wrong? Why is everyone pulling away from me? Am I not good enough? At first, this loneliness feels like a punishment, like you're being abandoned, like the world is slowly closing its doors on you one by one. You sit in your room staring at your phone, hoping it will ring. You refresh your messages again and again, but nothing changes. You look back at old photos and remember how full your life once felt, but now the silence in your heart feels louder than any noise. You start questioning your worth, doubting your value, and wondering if anyone truly cares. But what if the emptiness you feel is not the absence of people, but the presence of a greater plan? But what we fail to see in that moment is the hand of Allah at work. This isn't rejection. This is redirection. This isn't a punishment. It's an invitation. Sometimes the most merciful thing Allah can do for you is to clear the room, to quiet the noise so you can hear what really matters. The loss, the silence, the disconnection. It may feel like the world is turning its back on you, but in truth, it's your Lord turning you back to Him. This isn't about people leaving your life. It's about your heart being guided back to the one who never leaves. What feels like isolation is actually protection. What feels like being forgotten is actually you being chosen for a conversation only Allah can have with you. An invitation from your Lord, the one who loves you more than anyone ever could, to come back to Him without the noise, without the distractions, without the need to explain yourself to anyone. When Allah removes everything around you, it's not to leave you empty, it's to fill you with something better. His mercy, His guidance, His nearness. He knows what you carry in your heart. He knows the pain, the confusion, the quiet prayers you never told anyone about. So He calls you, but not with a loud voice. He calls you with stillness, with silence, with separation. Because in that emptiness, your heart will finally have space to speak. And it won't have to explain itself to anyone. Because Allah already understands what you feel before you even say it. You see, when you're constantly surrounded by people, their opinions begin to shape your thoughts. Their expectations begin to cloud your purpose. And before you know it, you're living your life to please everyone except the one who created you. We live in a world that constantly demands our attention. Friends want replies, social media wants updates, society wants results. In trying to be everything for everyone, we lose ourselves. We forget our why. We forget our who. And the more we try to keep up with the world, the more exhausted we become. That's why Allah, in His perfect timing, removes the crowd. Not to hurt you, but to give you the clarity you've been missing. To help you remember that your purpose was never to be popular, it was to be faithful. So Allah, in His mercy, steps in. He starts removing people. He allows situations to break down. He brings you to a place where no one else can hear your pain except Him. Imagine the love of a Lord who doesn't wait for you to come back. He creates the space for you to return. He removes those who were harming your soul, even if you thought they were good for you. He delays your plans, not to destroy your dreams, but to purify your intentions. He breaks the things you were clinging to so you can cling only to Him. He lets your tears fall in the dark, not because he isn't listening, but because he's drawing your heart back to the only one who can heal it. Because only then will your heart whisper the words it's been holding in. Only then will your soul cry out to the one who truly understands. There are feelings that words can't carry. There are wounds no one sees, but Allah sees them all. And when the world grows quiet, your soul finally finds the courage to speak. In the silence you whisper, Ya Allah, I'm tired. Ya Allah, I don't know what to do. And unlike people who may judge you or misunderstand you, Allah welcomes every word, even the broken ones, because He knows your heart before it even forms the prayer. And that moment when you're left with just Allah is when everything begins to change. That's not a breakdown, that's a breakthrough. That's not loneliness, that's spiritual intimacy. It's in that solitude that your eyes begin to open. You see things differently, you feel things more deeply, and you realize being alone with Allah is more healing than being surrounded by those who don't understand your soul. You stop chasing comfort from creation and start finding peace in your Creator. This isn't the end of your story. This is the page where the real healing begins. This is the moment where you realize that sometimes being pulled away from everyone is the only way to finally meet yourself and your Lord. Allah is not rejecting you, my dear brother, my dear sister. He is selecting you, choosing you for something greater. He is pulling you out of the crowd so He can whisper directly to your heart. Think about it. When a teacher has something important to say to a student, they don't shout in the middle of the classroom. They wait until it's quiet. They pull that student aside. They speak to them directly. That's what Allah is doing with you. He's pulling you aside from the crowd, from the noise, from the distraction, because there's something He wants you to hear. And it's something that only your heart can understand. You're not being ignored. You're being personally chosen for a lesson that could change everything. It's like a teacher calling a student after class, not to punish them, but because there's something special they need to understand. Something they can't grasp in the noise of the classroom. Allah is the best of teachers, and He teaches through moments of silence, moments of struggle, moments of separation. Because it's in these quiet lessons that your soul matures. It's in this divine classroom that your heart learns its most valuable truths. Maybe you didn't understand the tests when life was noisy, but now in this calm, you see the answers more clearly. This time alone with Allah, this is where wisdom begins. This is what solitude does. It silences the world so that the voice of Allah can be heard in your heart. And that voice doesn't scream, it doesn't rush, it doesn't overwhelm. It speaks gently, it reminds you softly. And if you allow yourself to be still long enough, you'll hear it. You'll hear that whisper that says, I am with you. I never left. Come back to me. That's not your imagination. That's your Lord. And He's closer now than ever before. So the next time you feel left out, pushed aside, or forgotten by people, remember this. You're not being isolated, you're being invited by the most merciful, by the one who never needs to raise his voice to call you. He simply removes distractions until you hear Him clearly. This is the mercy of Allah, a mercy that often comes wrapped in silence, a love that's so pure it removes everything else so your heart can finally focus. Don't rush through this. Don't curse the quiet. Accept the invitation, because when Allah calls you in solitude, it means He wants to give you something that can't be found in crowds: peace, purpose, and His presence. Psalm 2. Prophets faced solitude before strength. Because before greatness came isolation, or before miracles came silence, and before divine missions were given, there was solitude. This pattern isn't a coincidence. It's a divine principle. If you study the lives of the prophets, every single one of them, you'll see a consistent pattern. Before they stood before nations, before they carried out Allah's commands, and before their names were etched in history, they were alone, not just physically, but spiritually. They went through moments of total silence, total detachment, and deep reflection. These weren't accidental pauses in their lives. They were divinely placed stepping stones, because in isolation, hearts are softened, egos are humbled, and souls are prepared to carry weighty missions. Solitude is not a gap between greatness. It is the beginning of it. Look at the lives of the prophets, peace be upon them all. Each one of them was tested with loneliness. Each one of them faced seasons where they were cut off from the world, but connected deeply to their Lord. This wasn't just physical loneliness. It was emotional, it was spiritual, the type of solitude that makes you question everything, your purpose, your direction, your strength. And yet, in those moments, something remarkable happened. They turned inward, and through that inward turn, they turned upward. They didn't lose their minds, they found their Rab. They didn't crumble, they were reformed. Their isolation wasn't weakness. It was a moment of spiritual purification where every voice was silenced except one, Allah's. It was in those private moments that their public strength was born. Before Prophet Musa AS was chosen to confront Pharaoh, he fled into the desert alone. Imagine this, a man raised in a palace, surrounded by riches, now running for his life. One mistake, one confrontation, and everything he knew was gone. He had no one to defend him, no crowd to comfort him, no one walking beside him. He crossed vast lands with nothing but dust beneath his feet and the weight of guilt and uncertainty in his heart. From the glamour of royalty to the emptiness of wilderness, it looked like a fall. But in reality, when it was a rise, he had just left behind the palace, the people, the life he knew in Egypt. After a single mistake, he became a fugitive, running for his life, unsure of what came next. He had no army, no followers, no clear direction. All he had was his footsteps echoing through the desert and his heart quietly calling out to Allah. That moment, that desperate, uncertain silence became the doorway to revelation. In the desert, Musa AS found simplicity. He found humility. He found time to reflect away from the noise of politics, power, and pain. He worked, he served, he grew, and most importantly, he healed. This desert, though empty to the eyes, was full of meaning for the heart. That's where he started becoming ready, not in the palace, but in the quiet, barren stillness of exile. It was in that silence, that isolation, that Allah began to shape him. Years away from the noise of power and status, years away from the distractions of the palace, years in the wilderness, where the only sound was the voice of his heart being purified by hardship. And when the time was right, Allah spoke to him directly from a burning bush in the valley of Tuwa. Imagine a prophet standing in awe as a bush burns without being consumed, and from it, the voice of Allah addresses him directly. That moment wasn't random. It was the result of years of purification, years of solitude. You don't just wake up ready to speak to kings and carry divine miracles. You are prepared for it, silently, slowly. And Musa AS, in the isolation of the desert, was molded by divine wisdom. When the world saw a man in hiding, Allah saw a man in training. That moment, that conversation, that mission didn't come from the palace. It came after solitude, after separation, after surrender. Power doesn't always come from palaces. Sometimes it comes from caves and deserts. Sometimes it comes after you've lost everything. And in that loss, you finally gain clarity. When Musa AS heard Allah's command to go back and face Pharaoh, he wasn't the same man who had fled. He was now shaped, grounded, refined. His solitude wasn't a detour. It was the straightest path to purpose. And that's the secret many of us forget. Sometimes what feels like a setback is really a sacred setup. Before Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, received revelation, he retreated to the cave of Hira, alone. He didn't wait for revelation in the crowds of Makkah. He didn't expect clarity in the markets or majlis. He sought stillness, peace, reflection, and where did he find it? In the silence of a cave. Day after day, he would climb up Jabal al-Nur, the mountain of light, not for fame, not for approval, but for solitude. He separated himself not because he hated people, but because he longed for truth. And truth, my dear brothers and sisters, often comes to those who are willing to be alone with their Lord. He wasn't surrounded by companions. He wasn't standing on a stage. He was in a small cave, high in the mountains, wrapped in silence, pondering life, away from the noise of Makkah, away from the idol worship, away from the chaos of society. He would spend hours, days in that cave, just thinking, just searching, just connecting with Allah. That image alone should touch your heart. The greatest man to ever walk this earth, seeking Allah in silence. While others chased business, wealth, and popularity, he climbed away from it all, seeking meaning. The cave of Hira became his sanctuary, and in that darkness, light descended. Not just physical light, but the light of revelation, the beginning of the Quran, the start of mercy to the worlds. And it was there, in the stillness of that solitude, that Jibreel A.S. appeared. It was there that the first words of the Quran were revealed. Read in the name of your Lord. The moment that changed history did not happen in a crowd. It happened in stillness. The Quran, the book that would guide generations, began in a quiet cave with a man all alone, chosen by Allah. That's the wisdom of our Lord. He doesn't speak through chaos, He speaks through calm. And the first command, read. Not rush, not perform, not gather people, just read. And to read, you must first be still. That's why solitude was the stage for revelation. Revelation didn't descend in a crowd. It didn't come with fanfare. It came in silence, in darkness, in solitude. We often think we need a big audience to do big things, but Allah teaches the opposite. The most important event in human history began quietly. No one else was there. No cameras, no spectators, just a heart ready to receive, and a cave that witnessed the moment light returned to earth. This is how Allah works, privately, perfectly, powerfully. Why? Because the heart must be quiet to truly listen. The soul must be still to truly absorb. Allah knows us. He knows how easily distracted we are. He knows how loud the world can be. So He calls us into silence, not to punish us, but to prepare us. It's only when the noise stops that the heart begins to whisper. And it's only when the soul is still that it can finally hear. The Quran wasn't revealed to a crowded majlis. It was revealed to a heart in a cave. That's the message. You don't need noise to grow. You need nearness to Allah. Solitude wasn't a pause in their journey. It was the beginning of their purpose. We think nothing is happening when we're alone, but with Allah, something is always happening. You may not see movement on the outside, but your heart is being molded. Your thoughts are being reshaped. Your soul is being strengthened. The silence you're in, it's not the end of your journey. It's the doorway to your next chapter. Just like the prophets, you are being prepared in private for something powerful in public. We often think that when life becomes quiet, it means nothing is happening. We say, I'm stuck, I'm behind, I've lost my path. But Allah is never still. His wisdom is never inactive. What looks like silence is full of secrets. The doors that seem closed may be doors to a better destination. And the stillness that feels frustrating may actually be protecting you from harm. Just like a seed must be buried in darkness before it can bloom, your solitude is preparing you to rise. You are not forgotten, you are being formed. But the truth is, Allah does His deepest work in the quiet. He's not delaying you, He's developing you. The delays we hate are often the moments Allah is building something inside us that we'll need later. Patience, strength, tawakkul. Without solitude, these qualities remain shallow, but in silence, they deepen. You start to rely not on people, but on Him. You stop asking, why me? And start asking, what is Allah trying to show me? That shift, that quiet transformation is the secret power of isolation. Just like the prophets were prepared in solitude before being sent into the world, you too may be going through a season of stillness before a season of strength. Don't underestimate the moment you're in. If the prophets, the best of humanity, needed solitude before service, so do you. This season of stillness may feel uncomfortable, but it's necessary, because Allah doesn't just want you to do something great. He wants you to become someone great. And becoming always starts with being alone with Him. That job you didn't get, that friend group that left, that plan that failed, it may all be part of Allah isolating you. Not to break you, but to build you privately before using you publicly. Sometimes what breaks your heart is what saves your soul. The closed doors, the empty rooms, the long nights of wondering, why is this happening to me? All of it, every delay, every detour may be part of your training. Allah builds leaders in secret. He builds patience in pain. He builds trust in trials. So don't fear the quiet. Embrace it, because Allah never wastes a moment, especially the silent ones. When Allah isolates you, He's not putting your life on hold. He's preparing your heart for something greater. You may feel like your life has paused, but behind the scenes, Allah is writing a beautiful chapter, a chapter that will only make sense when you look back and realize that silence saved me, that solitude shaped me, that stillness made me ready. Trust His timing, trust His silence, trust His love. Even when it feels like He's far, He's actually closer than ever. 3. You needed to be separated to see clearly. There are times in life when Allah separates you, not because He wants to hurt you, but because you're too surrounded to see the truth. Sometimes you're lost in a crowd, not physically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And so Allah begins to clear the space around you. He removes people, He closes doors, He silences noise, and you're left alone wondering what's happening. That's when clarity begins. When you're constantly moving, constantly listening to others, constantly keeping up with life, you don't have time to reflect. You're in survival mode, not soul mode. And in that pace, you begin to forget what your heart truly needs. So Allah, out of pure love, slows you down. He takes away the noise so you can hear the whisper. He clears out the crowd so you can recognize your own face in the mirror. He isolates you not to punish you, but to help you pause long enough to find what matters again. That confusion you feel when people leave is not abandonment. It's Allah rearranging your life for something clearer, deeper, and better. You see, clarity doesn't come when you're constantly surrounded. It comes when you finally pause, when the voices fade, when the opinions stop, when your mind has room to breathe. That's when your heart starts to speak. And most importantly, that's when Allah's guidance begins to shine. We think that surrounding ourselves with more people will make us feel more certain, that the more advice we hear, the better our decisions will be. But the truth is, when there are too many voices, the heart becomes confused. It stops knowing what's guidance and what's noise. But when you pause, truly pause, and let yourself sit in stillness, your heart wakes up. It begins to speak honestly. You remember what you were running from. You see what you've been avoiding. And in that moment of stillness, Allah's guidance gently enters your life. Not loudly, not forcefully, but with clarity that pierces the fog. That is the kind of light that can only shine in silence. And sometimes we're surrounded by noise. Voices that confuse us, people who distract us, environments that weaken our faith. You may be in a room full of people, but still feel distant from Allah. Not because you're a bad person, but because the atmosphere around you doesn't feed your soul. There are friends who make you laugh, but they never remind you of the akhirah. There are places you visit that entertain your mind but drain your heart, and slowly, without realizing it, your connection with Allah starts to dim. You miss your salah more often. You stop making dua. You forget the sweetness of Quran. And all of it begins because the people around you are louder than the voice inside you. And sometimes Allah loves you too much to let that continue. Every day you hear 100 opinions. Do this, don't do that, be like them, don't change. You're not enough. You need to be more. And slowly your own voice, the one Allah gave you, begins to fade. You start living to please people instead of living to please your Lord. And in that noise, you stop noticing the quiet warnings Allah sends you. The signs, the whispers, the reminders. In a world obsessed with image and opinion, it's easy to forget who you are. You start comparing yourself to others, doubting your choices, and measuring your worth by other people's standards. And the saddest part? You begin to disconnect from the one voice that always mattered, the voice of your soul calling out to its creator. You no longer ask, is Allah pleased with me? Instead you ask, will they accept me? That shift from divine approval to public approval is what slowly blinds you. And Allah, in His endless mercy, starts sending signs, small trials, subtle discomforts, tiny nudges to turn back. But in all the noise, you don't hear them. So what does Allah do? He steps in, because His mercy is greater than your confusion. He removes what's clouding your sight, even if it hurts. He takes away the people who were softening your deen. He breaks down the plans that were pulling you further from Him. He interrupts the rhythm that was leading you into loss, not to punish you, but to wake you up. This is one of the most loving things Allah can do for a believer. When He sees you drifting, He doesn't wait until you drown. He intervenes. And sometimes that intervention comes in the form of heartbreak, separation, failure, or loss. It feels painful in the moment, but in reality, it's a mercy disguised as difficulty. That friendship you thought you needed, it was draining your iman. That job you were desperate for, it would have taken you away from your salah. That plan you built your life around, it was built on sand, not faith. Allah breaks what you think you need, so He can give you what your soul truly needs. Imagine standing in a dusty room. The sunlight is trying to enter through the window, but the dust in the air makes everything hazy. No matter how bright the light is, you can't see clearly. What do you need? You need the dust to settle. You need stillness. You need air. That's what Allah does with your life. You may think you're doing fine because everything looks busy, your schedule is full, your phone is active, your life is fast. But what if all that busyness is actually dust clouding your vision? Allah is the one who clears it. He stops the whirlwind around you, slows the noise, and invites you into a space of stillness. Not to waste your time, but to help the dust of dunya settle, so the light of guidance can finally reach you. Because sometimes, even the brightest light of truth can't help you if your life is too cloudy to let it in. He calms the chaos. He silences the noise. He pauses your plans so you can finally see what's real. We don't like it when our plans fall apart. We resist when things don't go our way. But sometimes Allah pauses your life because you're heading in the wrong direction. You're chasing something temporary. You're distracted by illusions. And in that pause, in that sacred stillness, you suddenly see with clarity. You realize that what you were chasing was never worth it. That what you were depending on wasn't built to last. And in that realization, you return, you come back to the truth, to the path, to the one who never stopped guiding you even while you were distracted. And what's real is your heart. What's real is your relationship with Him. What's real is your direction, your choices, your habits. And whether they're leading you to Jannah or not, all of the distractions around you, the money, the followers, the praise, none of it follows you to your grave. The only thing that matters is the state of your heart and the sincerity of your worship. When Allah separates you from the world, it's to bring you back to that reality. You start to ask, is my heart soft or hard? Is my time bringing me closer to Allah or further away? Am I building a life for this world or for the next? These questions aren't scary, they're liberating, because the moment you face them honestly is the moment your life begins to change. That level of self-awareness doesn't happen in the crowd. It happens in solitude. You could be surrounded by 100 people and still be spiritually numb. But one moment of silence with sincerity can awaken your soul. That awakening doesn't require noise. It doesn't require approval. It requires space. Space to breathe, space to feel, space to repent. Solitude is where the masks fall off. It's where you stop performing for others and start being honest with your Creator. And in that honesty, real growth begins. You begin to notice your own patterns. You reflect on your mistakes. And you start to reconnect with the one who never left you. When you're alone, you finally stop running. You start seeing things for what they are. You admit the bad habits you've ignored. You recognize the blessings you took for granted. You remember the du'as you used to make and how they were answered. And most beautifully, you remember that even when you were distracted, even when you were distant, Allah never left you. He was always there, waiting, patient, loving. Your separation from the world became the bridge that brought you back to Him. When you're finally alone, without people pulling you in every direction, you start asking the questions you've been avoiding. Why do I feel empty? Why am I always rushing? Why do I crave things that never satisfy me? These are the questions that change lives, and they're the kind of questions we can only ask when the noise fades. You start to see that your emptiness wasn't because you didn't have enough. It was because you were filling your heart with the wrong things. You realized that your constant rushing wasn't progress. It was running from reflection. And you understand that the things you were craving were temporary comforts for a soul that was thirsty for the eternal. This is how solitude opens your eyes, not just to your life, but to your need for Allah. And then, in the middle of that silence, your heart remembers Allah. You remember your salah. You remember how your du'as used to feel. You remember the peace you had when your relationship with Him was strong. And suddenly, the path becomes clear. I didn't need more people. I needed more of Allah. That moment is a gift, a sacred awakening. When you sit alone and tears begin to fall, not from sadness, but from remembrance. You remember the taste of peace you once had, the closeness in sajda, the power of a whispered dua. You remember who you were before the noise, and it clicks. The answer was never out there. It was always with Allah. And in that moment, your direction becomes clear. Your priorities shift, and your journey home begins again. That clarity is a gift, and it only comes in solitude. It's not something that can be forced. It's not something you can fake. It's a divine gift granted to the heart that is finally still enough to receive it. That solitude is not an interruption to your life. It is a correction. It is Allah's gentle way of clearing the path, polishing the mirror of your heart, and giving you a fresh lens to see your purpose. And when that clarity comes, you'll thank Allah for the silence, for the stillness, for the separation, because it brought you back to what matters most. For when no one understands, Allah does. There comes a time when no matter how many people are around you, you still feel unseen. You could be sitting in a room full of friends, listening to laughter, surrounded by smiles, and yet your heart feels isolated. You try to speak, but the words get stuck. You try to smile, but it feels like a mask. You wonder, if I'm not even understood by the people closest to me, who am I supposed to talk to? That's when the pain starts to grow quietly. Not because people don't care, but because people are limited. They can see your face, but they can't read your soul. They can hear your voice, but they can't interpret your silence. And when you try to explain, they offer solutions. But your heart wasn't asking to be solved. It was just asking to be heard. People may not understand what you're going through. You might try to explain your sadness, your silence, your stillness, but no one truly hears except Allah. Sometimes the most painful part of suffering isn't the trial itself. It's the feeling that no one understands what you're carrying. You try to say, "I'm tired," and they respond, "Just get more sleep." You say, "I feel lost," and they say, "Just keep going." But no one pauses long enough to see that your heart is aching for something deeper, that your soul is quietly drowning, longing to be seen, not with eyes, but with compassion. And in those moments you realize that the only one who has ever truly understood is the one who created you, the one who knows what you hide in your heart, the one who listens to the words you can't even say. Before you even put your feelings into words, Allah already knows. Before the tears fall down your cheeks, Allah already counted them. Before the weight in your chest becomes too heavy to carry, Allah already knew it was building. And even when you yourself don't know how to describe your pain, even when you sit in silence because the emotions are too tangled to untangle, He listens. He understands and He responds, not with judgment but with mercy. There are moments when you cry without knowing why. You stare at the ceiling in the middle of the night and your heart feels like it's collapsing. Have you ever had a night like that? When your eyes are wide open but the world feels far away? You scroll through your phone but nothing helps. You get out of bed but the emptiness follows you. You cry but not because of something specific. It's just an overflow of everything that's been buried inside. That moment, as painful as it feels, is also a turning point, because when the heart breaks that deeply, it finally turns to the one who heals it best. You want to talk to someone, but there's no one awake, no one available, or even worse, you don't know how to explain it to anyone. But remember, Allah doesn't need your words to understand your pain. This is the beauty of Allah's mercy. He doesn't wait for you to find the right words. He doesn't need long explanations or perfect sentences. He already understands what you're feeling, even the part you haven't admitted to yourself yet. He sees the weight you carry in public while pretending to be okay. He hears the heartbreak behind your smile. And He knows the fears you push aside every day just to keep functioning when everyone else is asleep, when no one else picks up the phone. Allah never misses your call because His door is never closed and your whisper is enough to shake the heavens. He knows your struggles before you speak them. He knows what's breaking your heart even when you smile in front of the world, and He listens not just to your words but to your silence. Silence can be heavy. It can feel like a prison, but with Allah, silence becomes a language, a form of worship, a sacred connection. Because even when your voice trembles, even when your dua is just a breath between sobs, even when your tears are the only thing falling in sajda, Allah is closer than ever. And sometimes the silence between you and Him speaks louder than 1,000 words. We often think no one sees our tears, our pain, our frustration, but Allah does. And His understanding is deeper than anyone else's. Your friends may grow tired. Your family may not understand. Even you, at times, may not know what you truly need. But Allah never misses a single heartbeat. He knows what hurts and what heals. He knows what you've been through, even when you couldn't explain it to anyone. And most importantly, He understands not only what you're going through, but why you're going through it. He knows the lessons in the hardship. He knows the blessings hidden in the trial. And He knows the strength that's being built through every silent tear. While people may miss the signs, the tiredness in your eyes, the forced smile, the quietness in your voice, Allah misses nothing. He sees you holding it together when you feel like falling apart. He sees you giving your best when no one acknowledges it. He sees you choosing faith even when it's hard. And every small act of patience, every private moment of worship, every sincere tear shed in secret is seen by Allah, recorded, rewarded, raised. You are never invisible to Him. Every tear is noticed. Every sigh is recorded. Every hidden hurt is wrapped in His mercy. When you cry alone, angels are writing. When your heart aches in private, your Lord is responding. When you break in front of Him, You are never broken in vain. He is Al-Latif, the subtly kind. He is As-Sami, the all-hearing. And He is Al-Wakil, the one who takes care of you when no one else can. This is not just compassion, it's divine love, the kind that heals without words and lifts you without explanation. And the beautiful truth is this: you've never made a dua that went unheard. You've never whispered to Him and been ignored. When the world tunes you out, Allah tunes in even closer. Not a single supplication is wasted. Even the ones you made years ago, the ones you've forgotten, Allah hasn't. And every time you whispered, Ya Allah, I don't know what to do. Ya Allah, I feel empty. Ya Allah, guide me. Those words weren't lost in the air. They rose straight to the one who promised, call upon me and I will respond. There's a secret beauty in being misunderstood by people, because it teaches you to turn to the one who understands everything. Sometimes being misunderstood is a blessing, because it strips away the illusions and forces your heart to go where it should have gone all along. To Allah, it's His way of gently guiding you back, not by shaming you, but by removing your reliance on those who can't heal what He created. It's in that redirection that your relationship with Him deepens. You start telling Him everything, not just your pain, but your gratitude, your dreams, your fears. And the more you speak to Him, the less you crave to be understood by others. Sometimes Allah allows others to misunderstand you, not to humiliate you, but to redirect you. The pain of being misread, judged, ignored, it hurts. But what if that pain is actually mercy? What if it's Allah protecting you from relationships that would have harmed your heart? What if it's Him showing you that you're better off seeking His pleasure, not theirs? People's opinions are temporary. Their validation is inconsistent. But Allah's view of you, it never changes. He knows your intentions. He sees your sincerity. And He rewards you, not for being seen, but for being truthful when no one else noticed. And that realization is more healing than 1,000 conversations. When you realize that Allah understands you, not just partially, but completely, it brings a peace that no therapy session, no friend, no counselor can offer. Because with Him there is no fear of judgment, no need to explain, no pressure to be perfect, and just you, your heart, and a Lord who already knows it all and loves you anyway. So the next time you feel like no one understands, remember, the one who created your heart is the one who understands it best. Speak to Him, cry to Him, because even in your silence, He hears you. And in your pain, He is closer than ever. Never feel ashamed of needing Him. Never feel like your sadness makes you weak, because your sadness, when given to Allah, becomes your strength. Your silence, when filled with dua, becomes your most powerful voice. And your loneliness, when embraced with remembrance, becomes your path to closeness. Because when the world doesn't get you, He does. And that's more than enough. 5. This is the season of sincerity. There are seasons in your life where no one is watching, no one is applauding, no one is checking on you, no one is asking how you're really doing. You wake up, you pray, you work, you try your best, but it feels like your effort is invisible. You go days without a compliment, weeks without a sincere message, and maybe months without feeling seen. But my beloved brothers and sisters, this is not a punishment, this is a gift, because when no one else is watching, Allah is. In this quiet season, when it's just you and your thoughts, when the spotlight has faded and the audience has gone home, that's when the light of sincerity begins to shine. Because when the world turns away, sincerity has a chance to grow. This is your season of truth, the season of sincerity, the time when you're no longer performing, you're just being real, raw, and honest before the one who sees everything. We often don't realize how much of our lives are lived for other people. We smile for them, we speak carefully for them, we act humble so we'll be praised for our modesty. But when you're alone and no one is looking, you start to ask yourself, who am I really when no one is watching? That's when Allah invites you into something sacred, a spiritual reset, a time when the only opinion that matters is His. You're not trying to impress followers. You're not trying to win approval. You're not trying to be someone you're not. You're just a soul trying to reconnect with its source. When no one is watching, that's when your sincerity shines. Because sincerity doesn't need an audience. Like, it's not something you perform. It's something you live quietly, deeply, truthfully. When you get up for tahajjud and no one will ever know. When you forgive someone without telling anyone. When you give in secret, not to be praised, but to please Allah. That's when your faith is real. That's when your intentions are pure. That's when the angels are writing down your deeds, even if no human sees them. And those are the deeds that will save you on the day when nothing else can. You see, when people are around, it's easy to act righteous. It's easy to make dua when others are listening. It's easy to look humble when eyes are on you. But when you're alone, that's when your intentions are exposed. Alone time is mirror time. No filters, no makeup, no roles to play. It's just you and your Lord. Are you still doing good when no one notices? Do you still lower your gaze when no one is watching? Do you still pray on time when no one is around to remind you? This is the test of sincerity. To do what's right when no one else would know if you didn't. And this is the reward of sincerity. That Allah knows, always knows, and never forgets. Do you still pray when no one's checking? Do you still give when no one claps? Do you still remember Allah in the middle of the night when it's just you, the silence, and your soul? This is a question only your heart can answer. In solitude, your real relationship with Allah is revealed. Because the truth is, when the lights go off, when the stage disappears, when the likes stop coming, what remains? Does your soul still yearn for sujud? Does your heart still soften at a verse from the Quran? Do your eyes still weep in dua even when no one is watching? If the answer is yes, then know you found something priceless. Ikhlas, sincerity, the hidden jewel of the believer. That is where sincerity is born. Not in crowds, but in hidden corners, not on stages, but on prayer mats that no one sees. We live in a world obsessed with visibility. If it's not posted, people assume it didn't happen. But Allah's scale isn't based on how many people saw your deed. It's based on how pure your heart was when you did it. The most beloved deeds are often the ones no one knows about it. The private charity, the quiet dhikr, the sincere tears in the last third of the night. These are the acts that build your akhirah brick by brick. Not with gold, but with sincerity. And Allah multiplies them beyond anything you could imagine. Your prayers are no longer for people. Your actions are no longer for praise. It's just you and Allah. And what a beautiful feeling that is, to live only for His pleasure, to walk away from the noise of approval seeking, to breathe freely, knowing that you don't need to impress anyone anymore. You start waking up for Fajr, not because your parents told you to, but because your heart needs that connection. You start helping people not for validation, but because you felt the sweetness of being in Allah's service. You begin purifying your heart because now you know no one else can see it, but Allah does. And that is the purest form of worship, the kind of worship that no one claps for. But the angels record it with glowing ink, the kind that doesn't go viral, but is beloved by the Lord of the worlds, and the kind that doesn't trend on earth, but rises to the heavens wrapped in purity. This is the worship of the sincere, of those who don't seek to be seen, only to be accepted by the one who sees all. That's where real transformation happens, not in crowds, but in secret places. We expect change to happen in conferences, in big events, in public gatherings. But real transformation happens in a quiet room, with a Quran in your lap, with tears falling in sujud, with whispered repentance at 3 a.m. That's where hearts are repaired, that's where sins are erased, that's where new stories are written, stories of light, of healing, of closeness to Allah. The world values what is seen, but Allah values what is hidden. On the day of judgment, many people will be shocked. They'll see someone enter Jannah and wonder, who was that? We never heard of them. But Allah knew their nights, He knew their sacrifices, He knew their silent struggles. The world might not remember your name, but if Allah knows your heart, then you've succeeded in the highest way. So when life feels quiet, when no one is clapping, know that Allah sees your effort, and what is done for Him alone is never lost. Nothing is wasted, not the dua you whispered through tears, not the ayah you recited while your heart trembled, not the fast you kept while working long hours, not the forgiveness you gave in silence. Every sincere deed is planted in your book of deeds, and Allah, who sees the smallest ant in the darkest night, will never let it go unrewarded. This is where sincerity grows, where repentance becomes real, and where hearts are softened. You don't need loudness to come back to Allah. You need honesty, you need humility, you need to close the door, fall to the ground and say, Ya Allah, you know me, you know my flaws, but I'm here, I'm trying, please accept me. That's sincerity, that's tawbah. And in that moment, the gates of mercy open. Don't waste this season, don't rush out of it. It's your private meeting with the one who already loves you purely, perfectly, and endlessly. If Allah has pulled you away from people, if He's placed you in solitude, if your life feels quiet and still, don't resent it, respect it. It's your invitation to connect, to repent, to build a private relationship with the one who knew you before anyone else did. This is not a delay, it's a deepening, a recentering, and a divine gift wrapped in silence. Unwrap it, and you'll find your sincerity waiting inside. And 6, you're not behind, you're being built. There are times in life when you feel like you're being left behind. You look at others and their lives seem to be moving forward at full speed. They're posting wedding pictures, they're announcing career wins, they're buying homes, having children, building legacies. And you're still struggling with uncertainty, still praying for clarity, still waiting for your turn, your moment, your miracle. And in that quiet space between your prayers and your reality, a painful thought begins to whisper, am I falling behind? Why is everyone else moving forward and I'm stuck? But dear brother, dear sister, you are not behind, you are being built. Maybe you think you're falling behind, that others are moving ahead, getting married, getting rich, achieving more. But Allah doesn't build greatness in public. When you look at someone else's life from the outside, it's easy to assume they have it all figured out. But you're not seeing their struggle. You're not hearing their private tears. You're not witnessing their battles behind the screen. Allah builds people in different ways. Some are tested publicly, others are shaped privately, and some grow through ease, others are purified through trials. So when you see someone getting everything you ever wanted, don't think Allah has forgotten you. Think instead, Allah must be preparing me for something that requires more time, more strength, and more sincerity. Because what comes quickly often fades quickly, but what Allah builds slowly lasts forever. The timeline you're watching is not Allah's timeline. Social media shows you the highlight reel, but what it doesn't show you is the hardship behind the moments, the struggle behind the success, the tears behind the triumph. Every day we are bombarded with images and updates of people who seem to be ahead of us. But remember, you're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's curated movie trailer. Their smiles might hide heartbreak. Their vacations might mask spiritual emptiness. Their success may have cost them their peace, but Allah sees the full picture. He knows when to give and when to withhold. He delays not to deny, but to develop. And in that development is where your story becomes meaningful. Allah, in His perfect wisdom, doesn't rush your growth. He prepares you step by step, quietly, privately, so that when your moment comes, you're not only ready, you're grounded, you're sincere, you're strong. When a seed is planted in the earth, it doesn't bloom overnight. It sits in darkness, covered, buried, hidden. But beneath the surface, a miracle is unfolding. Roots are forming, structure is developing. And when the time is right, it bursts through the ground and is full of life. That's you right now. Your life may look quiet, uneventful, even stalled. But underneath that silence, your soul is growing. Your patience is deepening. Your du'as are reaching the skies. Your character is being polished. And when Allah decides it's time, your rise will be undeniable. Because what He builds in the dark, He reveals in the light with unmatched beauty. He builds it in silence, in patience, in private. We live in a world where success is often loud, but Allah's success is quiet. It grows slowly in sujood. It deepens during trials. It strengthens during long nights of waiting. In that quiet season, He is healing you. In that waiting, He is softening you. In that silence, He is teaching you lessons that the world could never offer. So don't let the stillness fool you. You may not be moving at the speed of others, but you are moving at the speed of divine wisdom. Think of the strongest trees, and they don't grow overnight, and they spend years growing roots underground, unseen. But those roots are what keep them firm when storms come. Your foundation matters more than your followers. Your sincerity matters more than your speed. And your hidden growth matters more than visible results. Because when the storms of life arrive, and they always do, it won't be your job title or your social media that holds you together. It will be your faith, your patience, your ability to say, Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil. Allah is enough for me, and He is the best disposer of affairs. That strength isn't built in public, and it's built in solitude, in tears, in brokenness, and in rebuilding. You're not being left behind. You're being built from the inside out for something better, stronger, and more meaningful than you can imagine. Every delay in your life has wisdom behind it. Maybe the job you wanted would have led you to arrogance. Maybe the person you prayed for would have broken your heart. Maybe the path you desired would have taken you further from Allah. So instead of opening that door, Allah gave you silence. Instead of granting that wish immediately, He gave you time to grow into the person who could handle the blessing with gratitude and humility. You're not late, you're in divine construction, and the building that takes the longest is often the one that stands the strongest. Sometimes Allah delays the gift because He's still shaping the receiver. Because if you receive the blessing before you were ready, you might misuse it, you might lose it, or worse, it might take you away from Him. How many people have been given success only to be destroyed by it? How many received what they wanted only to forget the one who gave it to them? So when Allah keeps you waiting, it's not a rejection, it's a rescue. He knows the right time, the right place, and the right version of you that needs to exist before He delivers that answer you've been begging for. Trust His delay, trust His preparation, because you're not just waiting for something good. You're being prepared to receive it with wisdom, gratitude, and sincerity. You don't need to keep up with others. You need to keep close to Allah, because it's not about speed, it's about purpose. And Allah never wastes the time of those who seek Him. The world pushes you to compete, to rush, to race ahead. But your soul was designed for reflection, not comparison. Your path is not supposed to look like anyone else's. It's supposed to be deeply personal, profoundly unique, and spiritually tailored. Allah knows the exact moment when your patience will turn into paradise. He knows when your pain will become your elevation, and He knows how to reward every second you spent trusting Him when things didn't make sense. So let go of the obsession with being on time and hold on to the peace of being on Allah's time. Every prophet was built in silence before being sent in strength, and you are no different. And think about it. Before the miracles came the wilderness, and before the honor came the hardship. Before the public mission came private molding. Yusuf A.S. sat alone in a prison cell, forgotten by men but remembered by Allah. Musa A.S. wandered in a desert, exiled by people but chosen by Allah. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was in a cave, unknown to the world but about to change it forever. If they were built in silence, why would you fear your quiet season? And so the next time you feel behind, remember, Allah doesn't rush masterpieces, and that's what He's turning you into. You're not behind, you're not late, you're being built brick by brick in silence, in mercy, and in love. And soon, when He knows you're ready, not just with your hands, but with your heart. He will place the blessing in your life, and you'll finally understand. The wait wasn't a punishment, it was preparation for something far greater than you imagined. 7. Use this time to return to Salah, Quran, and Dua. In this season of stillness, when plans are paused, when people distance themselves, and when nothing feels clear, there's a subtle but powerful gift being handed to you. It's the gift of time, but not just any time. It's time to turn inward, time to realign your soul, time to reconnect with your purpose, because the quiet moments in your life aren't random, but they're invitations, not from the world, but from Allah Himself. And He's calling you back to the 3 things that can never leave you empty: Salah, Quran, Dua. This moment of stillness is not for endless scrolling. It's not for overthinking or despair. It's a door. Use it wisely before it closes. Allah has given you space right now. Space in your day, space in your relationships, space in your soul. And what you fill that space with will shape who you become. You can fill it with distractions and then continue to feel lost. Or no, you can fill it with remembrance and begin to feel alive again. You may think nothing is happening, but the spiritual world is wide open. The angels are writing, your du'as are being lifted, your deeds are being recorded. So don't waste this pause. Don't fill this silence with noise. Fill it with sujood, Quran, and whispers to the most merciful. Return to your prayer by it, but not just to complete it. Return to it to be comforted by it. Let each prayer become your reset. Let each takbir be a break from stress. Let each sujood be the place you leave your burdens behind. Pray as if this moment is your final chance, as if your next breath isn't promised, because it isn't. Feel the power of being in direct conversation with the Lord of the heavens and the earth. If you've missed prayers before, come back. If you've been distracted in Salah, try again. If you've been away from the prayer mat, know that it's still waiting for you. Allah's mercy doesn't expire. And the moment you return sincerely, He receives you with love. Open the Quran, even if only 1 verse, and let it enter your heart. This is not a book to be rushed. It's a conversation. Every ayah is a message. Every word is a rope from heaven to your heart. If you feel overwhelmed, just open to a random page. Even if you only understand a few words, that 1 verse might carry exactly what your soul needed today. You never read the Quran by accident. Allah guides you to the page your heart is ready for. You might find a warning that wakes you up. You might find a promise that gives you hope. You might find a reminder that humbles you. And in that moment, you realize that this book knows you better than you know yourself. Raise your hands in dua, not just with your voice, but with your heart completely surrendered. You don't need eloquence. You don't need a translator. You don't even need to speak in Arabic. You just need to speak from your heart, because Allah is a Sami, the one who hears. He hears the cries you don't utter. He hears the brokenness you hide behind your smile. And He responds in ways you'll never see coming. Speak to Him like you would to someone who loves you unconditionally, because He does. More than your mother, more than your spouse, more than any human ever could. Pour out your pain, tell Him your worries, admit your flaws, and then ask. Ask for Jannah, ask for healing, and ask for closeness to Him. There is no shame in asking, only mercy in receiving. When no one else understands your silent struggles, Allah already knew. When no one else is there to listen, Allah is already near. The world will disappoint. Even those who love you may fall short, but your Lord, He never turns away, not once. He's been waiting, not to punish you, not to make things harder, but to draw you close again, to remind you that He's always been enough, that even if the world turns its back, His door is still open. So don't say, I'll return when I'm better. Return now, and He will make you better. Don't wait to be perfect. Just be sincere. It's not about reading a full juz every day. It's not about crying in every prayer. It's not about memorizing long du'as. It's about turning to Allah with whatever you have and letting Him transform it into something beautiful. Because sincerity is more powerful than perfection. And Allah accepts the smallest acts if they're done with a heart that wants to come home. This is your time. not just to recover, but to rebuild. Make your solitude sacred. Let your nights be lit with tahajjud. Let your heart beat with dhikr. Let your soul soften through Quran. Because when you return to these three, salah, Quran, dua, you're not just surviving, you're rising. 8, sometimes the break is the blessing. Which there's something profoundly powerful about a person who remains silent. Not because they have nothing to say, but because they know not everything needs to be said. In a world where people rush to respond, where everyone wants to have the last word, where silence is mistaken for weakness. The person who chooses not to react, the person who controls their tongue, the person who walks away when they could have exploded, that person holds a weapon so sharp, it protects their heart, their dignity, and their akira. Because the most dangerous weapon you will ever own is not your hands, not your mind, not your strength. It's your silence. Silence is not the absence of words. It is the presence of discipline. It is the mark of a person who fears Allah more than they love their ego. When you choose silence over reaction, you're not backing down. You're standing up, not for your faith, for your values, for your future in the hereafter. You're showing strength not by shouting, but by restraining yourself when everything inside you wants to strike back. That kind of self-control doesn't come from weakness. It comes from knowing that Allah is your defender, that you don't need to defend yourself with words. When the one who sees everything can defend you better, every word you speak is written, every argument you engage in is recorded, and every moment of silence you choose might be the moment that saves you on the day of judgment. You might be tempted to reply with something clever, to show them you're right, to win the argument. But what if Allah had written that moment as a test of your tongue, a test of your humility, a test of your taqwa? And if you had stayed silent, you would have passed. But instead, one sentence turned into a sin, one response turned into regret, one insult turned into backbiting, slander, arrogance, or even worse. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Whoever believes in Allah and the last day should speak good or remain silent." This wasn't just good advice. This was divine instruction. It was a reminder that your words are not free. They carry weight. They build or they destroy. They bring light or they bring darkness. And when you speak out of anger, when you speak out of pride, when you speak without thinking, you might hurt someone, you might humiliate yourself, or you might harm your record with Allah. So the safest thing you can do in the heat of emotion is hold your tongue. Even if it trembles, even if your heart is racing, even if your nafs is screaming, say something. The strongest reply is sometimes no reply. People think silence is retreat, but silence is a shield. It protects your iman. It protects your mental peace. It protects your soul from darkness. Think about how much damage happens through words. One sentence can shatter a heart. One comment can divide a family. One argument can end a marriage. One joke can humiliate someone for life. And one tweet can ruin your akhirah. But when you stay silent, even when you're provoked, you are holding a shield in front of your character. You are preserving the peace in your home. You are holding back the fire that Shaitan wants you to light. And that is not weakness. That is jihad al-nafs, the struggle against your lower self. The world may not understand your silence, but the heavens write it down as a victory. You see, silence doesn't make you irrelevant. It makes you focused. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you wiser. When you choose not to react, you give yourself time to think, time to make dua instead of damage, time to let your emotions cool, so that when you do speak, it is from wisdom, not from impulse. And more than that, you give Allah space to respond on your behalf. Silence is what protected the Prophet, peace be upon him, time and time again. He was mocked, he was ridiculed, he was falsely accused, but he didn't answer every insult. He stayed calm. He chose silence. He prayed for those who hurt him. And when the time was right, he responded with truth, not ego. He didn't let the world drag him into its noise. He stayed connected to his Lord. And in doing so, He taught us something timeless. Silence is sunnah. Sometimes silence is a mercy for others, but more often it's a mercy for yourself, because every time you stay silent, you're saving yourself from sins that might haunt you later, from words you can never take back, from wounds that can never be undone. And every time you choose to say, Ya Allah, I'm hurt, but I'm staying silent for your sake, the angels write that silence as an act of worship, a moment of submission, and a shield against your nafs. And Allah, the one who sees your sacrifice, will never let it go unrewarded. Silence creates space for clarity. It brings your heart back to Allah. It keeps your tongue clean, and it lets your soul breathe in that quiet space. You find what the noise was hiding: peace, perspective, and patience. You realize you don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to argue to feel powerful. You don't need to speak to be seen. Your silence speaks for you, and Allah is your witness. So next time you feel the urge to respond, to react, to fight back, pause and remember, silence is not giving up. Silence is rising above, and it's choosing peace over pride. It's choosing akhirah over ego. It's choosing the pleasure of Allah over the approval of people, because the most dangerous weapon you'll ever own is not in your hands, it's on your tongue. And the safest place for it is silence. Your silence today might be the reason for your shade on the day of judgment. Your silence might be the reason Allah opens a door you thought was shut. Your silence might be the very thing that saves your soul. So use it wisely, guard it carefully, and never underestimate it. Because the one who learns when to speak and when to stay silent, that person doesn't just survive this world, they thrive in the next one. My beloved brothers and sisters, if you've been feeling isolated, if life has grown quieter, if the path ahead looks uncertain, know this: you are not being punished. You are being protected. You are not being rejected. You are being redirected. And you are not lost. You are being guided step by step back to the one who loves you more than anyone ever could. Sometimes Allah removes people from your life to bring you back to Him. Sometimes He pauses your plans so you can hear what your soul has been trying to say. Sometimes He puts you in silence, not to break you, but to rebuild you with more wisdom, more strength, and more sincerity. Let this solitude be sacred. Let this season reshape you. Return to your salah, not out of obligation, but out of love. Return to the Quran, not just to read it, but to let it read you. Raise your hands in dua, not because you've run out of options, but because you finally remembered who's always been there. Use this time to become the version of you that speaks less, but connects more, who worries less, but trusts more, who reacts less, but reflects more, who says less, but remembers Allah much, much more. Because when the world grows quieter, that's when Allah speaks to the heart. And what a gift to be chosen for that kind of silence. And so embrace it, grow in it, let it carry you all the way to Jannah. May Allah grant you peace in your solitude, and clarity in your confusion, and strength in your silence. Ameen.